And then there were some other places where we performed where I could look out into the audience and see somebody with tears in their eyes because I made them feel that way.
We did both plays, famous plays like Dracula and You Can't Take It With You, and also original plays that we worked on and wrote, and they were a wide variety of parts that I played, and especially the ones that we wrote together made me really feel that it was a very thorough and satisfying experience because we started with the ideas, we worked on it very closely together, the writing of it, then we performed it, supervised it. Many times they were musicals, so we had people write original music, and really we knocked them down. Pretty hot stuff.
Paul and I picked projects in a very, very arbitrary way. We chose theater because it was something that we loved. Coincidentally, it happens to be a way in which students can develop all kinds of social skills. They learn how to write, they learn how to speak, they read, they have to study, they have to participate in all kinds of basic skills. Theater works especially well because it not only engages the students in a dynamic activity and forces them to be very, very dependent on one another, but it also allows them to express their opinions to the community and gives them a sense of their own power and their own voice. But basically, we picked it because it was something that we loved to do.
Since you and Angela started to betray our people.
Are you starting about that?
Starting?
Why do you think I'm betraying you? You just don't understand how Angela's got rid of our ways to our people.
Just like she got rid of my mother.
Don't you dare.
The project gives you skill. It gives you a chance to find out talent. It integrates information into something concrete. That's why this project is such a great thing, because it does survive, and it is like a talisman for every kid who has done one and done one successfully. This is proof. I did something and it was good, and no matter what happens later on, no matter what problems I may have, no matter how I may not succeed in this or that or the other, I'm not a failure, I'm not a dropout, I'm not somebody who can't follow through. I did it.
In a world where kids have very little certainty, very often, and very little experience of success, a project can be an absolutely wonderful thing to build up a kid's ego. I'm thinking back particularly to when Bongo did a videotape on incest. And there were a lot of kids in that class who, as the term started, were very, very lost. And the kids started to spend a lot of time around the guidance counselors, talking about what they were doing in that class. And it was as if that class was giving them something they had never had before, because it was giving them a total feeling of success, a feeling of connectedness. And it made them feel good enough that they were willing to talk with people they saw as experts about a subject they thought they knew a lot about. And it was really a great experience to see their self-confidence grow, and to see their abilities grow with the self-confidence, because they were now willing to try things. We were handing them reading material like crazy, and it was as if they were sponges that were just soaking this stuff up. There were tremendous changes during that period, and tremendous self-examination, and all because of a culminating project at the end, which was a videotape.
That's an excuse to cut school. I'm sorry, I forgot. We're Walters. We're proper. We try to be. That's the way you were brought up. It's what I expect of your behavior. Maybe I'm adopted.
Don't be silly, Liz. Of course you're proper. Just look at you. You're beautiful. You're turning out to be just a beautiful young lady.
Guys don't seem to think so. I don't seem to think so either. She's the only one who keeps acting like I'm still a virgin queen. Little goof right there. Shut up!
I was involved with the big Vietnam project where they were writing the books and everything, and that just ripped me apart completely, because you saw things from a totally different view. Like, we had letters and things from guys who were in Vietnam and things like that. It was heart-wrenching. Like, people were like, oh, did you enjoy, you know, doing this and everything? I couldn't say I enjoyed it. It just made you see things from a totally different angle, you know? Like, you got a whole view. It was like, here it is. You were looking at things from on top rather than just one point of view of what you see from, like, the Time Life books and things like that.
And did you ever get to meet any Vietnamese people?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get to talk to them? And
Yeah. You know, the ones that I could communicate back with. I didn't know, you know, Vietnamese fluently, or a little bit I could communicate, I did.
did you find how, you know, they felt about it and stuff, what was going on? Sort of thing.
They were pretty much, I don't know, from my opinion there, they wondered just as much as I did what was going on.
I was involved with the newspaper, and it was one of the first times I had real freedom to express myself. There were no limitations, and it was great.
What was great about that?
I wasn't going along any guidelines. I wasn't being stifled. I could just go out in any direction and conquer new domains.
In school, we would do is the minimum we could to get good grades in a normal situation. If you were consciously trying to get good grades, you do your work and hopefully you learn something along the way. But having the plays based around the themes, whatever it was, the theme in that semester, the academics played a huge part, because we couldn't have done the play without understanding what we were being taught. And we did pay a great deal of attention, because we knew that at the end we would have to really understand. And it made it worthwhile. Without that project, I guess, because some were plays, some were TV shows or other things. Without that, I don't think you'd have the motivation.
What special talents and interests do you have?
In Bongo, you got to use talents that you had that you wouldn't use in any other class, and I think you also learned that you had talents that you wouldn't have learned that you had in any other class anyway. An example is building the sets, which I had a talent for, and obviously you're not going to build sets in math class. And I think a lot of people that never picked up a hammer before realized that they could do that and enjoyed it, you know, had fun with it.
Why was that important for you to learn that you had a talent in building sets?
For me personally, because that's what I do for a living now. Well, I don't build sets. I did. But I build houses now.
I used my dancing talent in Bongo. I couldn't use my dancing talent in English or science or math. I mean, you know, I can't sit there and tap dance, you know, while the teacher's talking to me and saying, well, what's the theory of this, and that. And in Bongo, I could, because we wrote a musical and we performed it in Virginia, and I think I was, well, my point of view, I was like one of the lead dancers, so I don't know about anybody else. And I was a choreographer for Bridges. I was one out of 3 choreographers. And I've never choreographed before. And I had a lot of ideas. So in Bongo, I just used them all.
It is vital that the project intersect with the state-mandated curriculum.
What would happen in terms of the Constitution, in terms of whose rights are protected, if anyone who is marching as a member of the Klan with the legal right to march because they have been given a permit, if any of them is harmed in any way, who has the rights?
The Klan don't have the right.
Because
their rights are being violated. They're being, attacked and assaulted.
But then it also gets complicated, because you could also say that the Klan's marching is surely to incite a riot, like your freedoms of speech limit. You cannot go into a movie theater
and scream fire.
And scream fire.
Right,
I mean,
when do they start to riot? When do they start to incite a riot?
I mean, everything starts to the point where your rights end when the next person's begin, and then it comes out from that. And that's an interesting
Okay.
Point.
Now, that's what we've been talking about. I really hate to, interrupt, but because we, really have like a time limit, we do have a play due in 3 weeks, and we only have to write it. Right? We've been through this before. Okay.
We only have to write it and rehearse it and produce it and go sets. Other than that, we have nothing to do in the next 3 weeks.
So we've been talking all term about Brave New World.
Every administrator concerns themselves with all the mandates that we have, the state mandates, the local mandates, the philosophy within a building, but bottom line, we're all in the business of helping kids learn, and so the outcome that we're looking for is student learning, and a creative administrator should be able to, in fact, convince, if necessary, the people that they're working with that student outcomes are what we're all looking for. And if kids are in school every day, and if kids are doing well on the assessments that we're giving them, I don't think it matters how we get them there, but the fact that if we all agree that these subjects that we've determined are important for high school graduation, I think the vehicle by which we get them there should be at the discretion of the school.
All of a sudden, after much problems, now we have a few rights. Now in certain areas our lives do mean something, okay? It's even profitable to be black these days, thank God,
Yeah.
Even a woman. And
when this
now,
happened?
people are actually concerned about taking the rights away from these people to protect ours. I find that very interesting, So is it, is this really a brave new world we're living in? Is that something I can think about now?
I think it's something that you should think about. I think it's something we all should think about.
Right, as a matter of fact, I think it sounds like a real good idea, considering that we gotta start picking an idea for a play. You people better start thinking, is that a good idea for a play?
It's like saying, where does the right of a society supersede the right of the individual?
Exactly.
You have to be very sure what the requirements are in your state and district curriculum, because there's a lot of folklore involved in that. People say, well, it was like that when I went to school, and a lot of people do it. It must be like that. The introduction to the textbook says such and such. Go back and read the original documents. There's no substitute for that. Get hold of the people from the district and the people from the state and the central office people and make sure what's really required and not just what might be required. There are exit exams, and that's a national movement. There'll be more and more exit exams determining graduation. Look at those exams analytically and carefully and say, what do kids really need to know? And then say, in this program, how can we make sure that we teach those skills through the content of this program, through the exercise of what we're doing?
Can you write a play about the right of the individual versus the right of society?
Sure you can. Sure.
Isn't that boring?
No, I mean, but there's so many things that are going on now about that. The Supreme Court with trying to overrule the Roe versus Wade decision and taking rights away from blacks again, saying that white. Some people say that white should be given jobs because a black man doesn't score a certain mark on a test that he should have a job and a white guy shouldn't.
An administrator who wants to foster an innovative program takes time to make sure that it intersects with regular mandates and helps facilitate natural connections.
We're going to be working on that anyway, so it's good because they'll be able to interview the whole staff and work with them. Literature should be easy, but you may have a problem with science. There's process, yeah, but where do you get any specific content?
Okay, we have some content. Since we were going to do art, Terry had this idea to do like illusions and optical illusions and design stuff like that, which I could work in with like the physiology of the brain. And once you do the physiology of the brain, then you deal with the rest of the body, and it looks like the Regents biosyllabus again.
And in fact, today with site-based management being something that many school divisions are looking into, I don't see that there would be a problem with somebody who really wants to put a Bongo program into their school. Again, we live in a conservative community. I don't know if the other two high schools in that community would consider putting a Bongo into their curriculum, but our superintendent and our assistant superintendent have been extremely supportive. They're creative people, and again, their concern is student learning. What is the student outcome here? And any time that we can show them that kids are learning, they feel we're doing our jobs. And I think that anybody who tries to implement a Bongo type program in their school will find out that attendance is better, that students understand, they're not just regurgitating, they understand what they're learning, and they're able to measure that.
Ask yourself if the nature of the project allows students to interdepend on one another.
Because, you needed everybody there. I mean, if you were doing something, then you needed everybody's help at the same time. If somebody missed it, then everything got delayed or something like that. If you counted on Tawdry to, if you counted on Tawdry, to come and to come help with a certain scene, and Tawdry wasn't there, and then Kim and I couldn't finish the scene, then everything would get held up because Tawdry wasn't there.
I think Bongo, if not anything else, taught you that whatever actions you took, you had to be responsible for them.
The idea of a project probably is staggering when you look at it head on. But if you break it down, there are some very, very practical considerations and some very, very logical ways of going about it.
What might seem illogical at first, but what's really most logical is to start from the end. If you know you're going to be putting out a newspaper, find out when does this newspaper have to be done. It has to be done by the end of the term. Does it have to be done by the end of the second term? Does it have to be done by the middle of the term? How much is it going to cost? Do you plan on having a 12-page newspaper, a 16-page newspaper? Again, start at the end, start with your project, and then work backwards. How long is it going to take the students to write the articles? How long, once they write the articles, is it going to take them to lay it out? How long does the printer need? All of these type of things at first, as Terry says, seem staggering. But if you literally draw a calendar, and work backwards and see how much time it takes, it becomes very clear, one, can you do this project, which is a real question, and two, what are the actual steps that I have to go through to get this done and still, at the same time, get the most important thing done, doing all the academic curriculum work that gives the students the knowledge, gives the students the skills to lead up to be able to do this project.
Other things that are really important, and I'm sure that you're already considering, are the fact of resources, the most important being money. Is there money in the school budget, or can you raise it once you've made that commitment to the project so that the project can be completed? Do you have the space that you need?
And although this is sounding like, where am I going to get all these resources? When we started out, what we had, and we presented 3 plays a year, what we had at our disposal was 2 empty classrooms, 38 kids.
No money.
Students had built their own lighting board out of wall dimmers and, regular electrical sockets.
And lights out of coffee cans.
You don't have everything at first. You build it up, but we were smart enough to realize what we needed to start with and
what was possible.
What was possible.
Project quality is absolutely essential. You cannot have a half-baked product at the end of your term. If you're going to ask the students to put in their time, their responsibility, their commitment, and their hard work, then you have to pay them back by having a really slick magazine, a really professional-looking newspaper, a really high-quality, well-performed, well-attended play.
And if what you produce doesn't come close to that, the students who you expect to have the next term are never going to sign up for the class.
In a regular school situation, you're always told that you do this now and it's going to pay off later. You'll be able to use these skills maybe years from now in college or at a job or whatever. In Bongo, we got the chance to use it right away. That alone showed us that what we're doing was worthwhile. It gave us, again, that real sense of worth, and was a great builder in self-esteem, and showed us that, hey, we are important, and that, we are talented, and we can do something. Yeah.